about OOPS. This is Object Oriented Programming System, and this is the backbone of basically of Python. So that's what we mandatorily added this into our sessions. During this OOPS classes, we'll discuss or we'll practice classes, objects, inheritance, and constructors, and associated things. And the day we are covering OOPS, it means by the time I'm sure our students would have enough confidence, and then they would be able to drive themselves easily. At least they would have enough understanding to understand the Python. Well, any questions on this group? Okay. I hope everybody in the group is comfortable with English and Hindi. Let me know if you want me to go on a particular language, either English or Hindi or mix. Or if any one of you is uncomfortable with English. We can talk in Hindi. Are you comfortable in Hindi as well, team, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, okay, great. So, in case if everyone is comfortable in Hindi, then I'll go in Hindi. But we are recording this session and we'll share it with other groups. So, I'll. Is that fine if we are going in English?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. All right. Sorry for this confusion. Let's proceed. Okay, so let's start from Python overview. What is Python and how does this work? So Python is a high-level interpreted programming language. This is an object-oriented programming language that has large, enormous library support that eventually makes implementation of various programs and algorithms easy. Okay, what we are trying to say here is Python is one of the very popular language, and it is used of using interpreter. I'll let you know what is interpreter. Interpreter is nothing but kind of a media between Python language and this computer system program, because computer doesn't understand English. Computer understands only 0 and 1. So interpreter is one of the media that converts our English, our program, into 0-1 language, into assembly language, and that basically that assembly language helps computer to understand the directions is being provided by Python. So Python uses interpreter. In similar way, if we talk about other languages, like we have C, C++, Java, .NET, PHP, and many more in our IT industry. So many of these languages are used of using compiler as well. So I will talk about a difference of between interpreter and the compiler in the slides. But Python is used of using interpreter, and interpreter is quite fast than compiler. And the second beauty about Python is this is an object-oriented programming language. What is object-oriented? It means in Python, everything is working as an object. How does this help? So, for example, if you are writing a code, so object-oriented programming is basically will talk about its own protocols, its own principles, and we would have to follow them. If Python programmer following all those protocols, it makes that program more flexible, more structured. So technically, object-oriented programming talks about classes, talks about objects, talks about inheritance. We would definitely go in detail of this because this is the main topic of Python. Well, so another best part about Python is it has a good number of big library. Library is nothing but how does this help? It helps Python to become more flexible so that we can integrate Python with other applications. For example, there are in case if we are designing any application or any website or anything by using Python, then it should be flexible enough so that in future, if required, this can talk with other applications are being designed in any other language. So how will it be compatible to integrate, to send data from Python to other applications? That would get done by using those library support. So we'll talk about them as well in future. So all these things basically are making Python user-friendly and more flexible. The syntax in Python helps the programmer to do coding in fewer steps as compared to other programming languages such as Java and C++. What we are trying to say here is, if you want to say, let's suppose I want to greet everyone, or I'm asking Python to greet my all students. So we are going to say hello world and hi everyone. So if we want Python to write only this statement, then we would have to write only 3 lines of code. But if we are asking Java to greet you just by saying this word, then Java would do the same thing in 8 lines of code. That's the difference between Python and Java. That's why we are calling Python is quite user-friendly. It's very compatible. Let me know if you have any questions on this, guys. Okay. Let's go ahead. Yep. Any questions, please?
Yeah, Ashish, can you please go back once to the previous slide? Yeah. So for I in A, you mentioned I in A, right? So how will it take? Like, will it take each word?
Your voice is breaking a lot.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's fine. You can continue. You can
and please say your name whenever you're asking any questions so that I can understand.
Yes, Pawan here.
Hi, Pawan. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah. So can you explain that? Can you briefly explain hello world, hi everyone? You gave in 6, right? So does it refer to 6 strings? How is that?
It's really tough to understand. Is this happening with me or with everyone, guys?
Oh, it's clear for us. This is Mallikarjun.
Okay. Can you type your question, or Malik, can you repeat that question, please?
Yeah, he is asking that for in A is there, no? How it will look?
He can write in chat section.
Okay.
Pawan able to hear, no?
Yes, I am able to hear. I know seems like some internet issue on your side, Ashish.
Okay.
I will type the question in the chat. Yeah.
I'm not understanding. Can someone please help me if to get the question? I'm sorry. Probably this is happening at my end, and I'm getting bad network today.
He is typing in the chat window. You will get it.
Okay, great. How does the code work? Can you briefly explain what is 6 in the code? Oh, okay. All right. Sure. Okay, so in this code, this is nothing but a list. So we'll talk about that list. You must have heard about arrays. So arrays are nothing but are having features to use multiple variables in one go. So if we are talking about this, hello world is nothing but a string. Hi everyone is also a string, and 6 is nothing but a number. All right. So in this example, what we are trying to say, we are sending multiple variables to multiple values to one variable, and that variable is a, and we are trying to print them. So 6 is not denoting anything. This is nothing to do with any logic. This is simple printing statement, and we are trying to print it by using a loop. So you will learn all these things in future. Major objective of this slide is to show you the comparison between Python and the Java code. If we are asking Java to print the same line, same hello world, hi everyone 6, then it will take, we would have to write 8 lines of code there. Does this help?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, proceed. Let's go ahead. And I'm sorry, guys. Today, by chance, in my area we have power issues, so probably that's the reason my broadband is a bit slow and I'm getting interruption. I sincerely apologize for that. Okay, let's go ahead. So let's talk about history of Python. So Python is basically got developed or got introduced by Mr. Rossum. His full name is Guido van Rossum in 1989, and it took 2 years to get notification, to get approvals. Then in 1991, it got basically approved by at international community. And it was developed in Netherlands. This guy belongs from Netherlands. And after a TV show, they renamed this to Monty Python. And that's how we are calling this as a Python language. And it's an open source. What does it mean by open source? It means it's a freeware. Okay. So this gentleman is the person who has given Python to the world. Okay, so let's talk about the coverage. What do you mean by coverage? It means what all areas this Python can be utilized. So we can create websites. We can use this in web development, number one. Number two, we can use this in desktop applications development. What's the difference between two? Web development is nothing, but we are used in simple layman terms. Websites we are used to having, like we have Google, we have Facebook, all these are websites, and desktop applications in banks. If you must have visited, then you can see that they are still used to using desktop applications. So Python is compatible to design both types of products. Games, by using Python, we can design 3D games as well. Okay, test automation. So testing is altogether a different vertical. Whenever we are going to any organization, that organization is used to having multiple verticals. It starts from business consultants, then development team, then testing team, then production team. So testing team is nothing but they are testing the products developed by the dev team. So we can do the testing by using automation done by Python. It's quite powerful there, and many people are getting training into that. Even my group is also used to providing advanced testing, training in test automation. So we'll talk about that some other day. Okay, what next? Data science and visualization. What is data science? Data science is talking about nowadays. This is the latest technology is on the boom. How does this work? Let's suppose we have a huge data, but that all data is having certain garbage values. Many of those rows are repetitive. So Python has that capabilities. Python is so powerful. It has capabilities to reduce all that garbage values. And that's all that concepts we are used to learning while working on data science. And then once that data is purely filtered, is in a structured way, then we can convert that data into graphs that we call data visualization. Next, machine learning and artificial intelligence. How does this work? It's a very simple example. For example, in your mobiles, you must have seen thumb impression. You must have seen facial recognition features. That facial recognition feature is something a Python code is basically enabling them to run well. All right. So this is a very small example of machine learning and actual artificial intelligence. Another example is, in case you must have seen in high-tech areas or airport or sensitive areas, they are having good quality cameras, and those cameras are used to counting how many numbers of members are available at the particular time frame. So that camera is looking at everyone, but they can count male and female very easily. So that all work is getting done by Python, because that is nothing but the magic of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Last but not least is audio and video applications. This is also something that comes under spectrum of Python. Any questions on this? So in short, what we are trying to say, Python has very wider level coverage. And that's what we would be covering, all fundamentals of it, so that you guys can can get the capability to understand all these things. And if you are interested, you can go by on in detail of that. Or if you want my group to help you, we are also going to have those sessions. We would be covering for web applications, we would be covering for test automations, we would be covering for data science, and then machine learning. These 4 areas where my group is used to of providing trainings, but that is future part and totally depends on the students. Okay. Python overview and progression. What we are trying to say here is Python made very nice progress in IT community in last several years. So Python got started with very less users in 2012, and by this time 2020 they increased by many means, and you can see the Python is there on the top. And now we have Java as well trending well, but it is, I mean, you can see the trends are very quite consistent. C++ is something that they had less users, and they are still having comparative to 2012 less users in the market. So Python is increasing a lot because of high spectrum and the flexibility features. Okay, what all features? This is what we are repeatedly using this word features. What all features we have in Python? See, Python, first of all, Python's training is quite easy, right? We have straightforward syntax that we'll learn quickly. Then it's quite clean. It's very well structured language. I'll talk about indentation in future. Whenever we are using indentation, it makes our code in a structured and very systematic way. Highly portable, reduces development time. How does this reduce development time? What I'm trying to say, what we are trying to say over here is development time. If you are writing a code in Python, it takes less number of lines of code. You need to write less number of line of code. If you are writing the same code in other languages, then you would have to write high number of higher number of line of code. So it means you are taking less time in development any application. Runs almost everywhere with targeting different operating systems. All operating systems are compatible where we can run Python. It can simply be written in Notepad editors. So though in the market, we have many IDEs, integrated development environments, but in case if you want, you simply install Python, write your code in Notepad, save that your program into with .py extension, and then run that. It will work. This is so simple to run as well. Okay, extensible. It is flexible, basically, allows access to many external libraries. It means it has flexibility to connect its code with other areas by using those external libraries. Support multiple programming paradigm. Procedural means we have modularity. All these concepts you would learn while working on the programming, guys, and that would come probably in day or two. So procedurals are nothing but the modularism, nothing but the creating more functions. So procedurals, we have that feature. We have object-oriented programming features as well. Here we are used to using classes and object, and you would learn that because we are quite good in teaching object-oriented concept, and that is most important part of Python. Any questions on this slide?
Sir, I cannot understand runs almost everywhere with targeting different operating systems.
Okay, what we are trying to say is all operating systems, like we have Linux, we have Unix, we have other operating system other than our window as well, right? So Python is compatible to run in all those systems.
Okay.
Any other question here, team, guys? All right. Python principles. So while working on the Python, of course, we would have to learn certain principles whenever you are learning any new language. For example, if I'm asking you to learn German, there are certain protocols that you would have to learn, that you would have to remember always. In similar line, for computer language Python as well, you would have to keep certain things in your mind, and we are calling them principles. Okay, before we start talking about principles, here we intentionally added one note, and what we are trying to say over here is, in case if you want to learn on, then python.org.doc is one of the best area where you can understand, where you can get all required information in a very simple way. And then it's all about putting your own effort. Okay, but this is the link where you can get complete information about Python. Okay, let's talk about principles. So Python file have extension.py. This is what we covered earlier as well. Whenever you are executing any Python program, make sure that program has to be saved with .py extension. Okay. Okay, here are a few examples. I'll relate all these examples in few minutes. Python is a case sensitive language. What do you mean by case sensitive? Case sensitive is if for example, here we are writing print A, all right? And if I'm writing this as a capital P or complete statement as in a caps word, right? Then in that case, Python will show us error. It means it is case sensitive. It has to be in small letters itself. Indentation is used to define the blocks. As I said, indentation is one of the wonderful feature of Python. It basically, initially, when you are working as a beginner, fresh programmer, then it would definitely bug you and you would feel frustrated. But within a day or two, you would learn it is making your life very easy. What's the beauty about indentation? It basically help it automatically. It emphasizes programmer to write a code in a structured way. In case if you are writing, what is indentation? So in this example, just look at this example, team. Everyone. So in this example, def function, we are defining a function. You will learn about it future. Focus on the indentation part. Then in this function, we defined a function here, and then we are writing print A and print C. We are printing these two parameters. So you must be observing there is some space, right? This space has been given intentionally, and this is called indentation. If I am starting this P from here, this P print command from here, it will not accept. Python will not accept. In other languages, we do not have all these concepts, resulting in it makes your program more messy. But in Python, it has certain protocols, and we need to remember them. And this is called indentation. Everything should be in a defined format. Okay, semicolon is optional at the end of a statement. What we are trying to say in other languages, you must have observed in C, C++, etc., Java. Whenever you are defining any, you are writing any code, you need to define semicolon in the last. Let me go back to the main example. Yeah. So you must have seen in Java, at the end, there is a semicolon. So without semicolon, Java compiler doesn't understand like this statement is over now. So but in Python, we do not have this limitation. So it is so intelligent. Without using semicolon, we can it would basically keep on reading your program and would execute that. Okay, Python is dynamically typed. You do not need to declare variables. What we are trying to say, so we would be having variables A, D, B, C, U. You can see all these variables. We are not defining them. This variable is integer. This variable is string, or this variable is a float. You will learn about all these terminologies in coming slides, team. Don't worry about it now. Just focus on the features of Python. So what we are trying to say in this row, we do not have limitations. We do not have any compulsion to define variables as well. Variable can change type simply by assigning new values of different types. We can assign any value to, we can assign the values on variables. Python allows you to assign single value to several variables simultaneously. You can see here 5 is being assigned to B and C both, and this is something is acceptable only in Python, and it is making your code more flexible. If you are printing B and C, you would see both of them would have value 5. Okay, hash is used for commenting single line comment. Whenever we write a program, we need to add our own comments in order to make that readable. So what does it mean by comment? So if you are using hash as a prefix or as a starting character, then interpreter will not read that as a command line. So it will simply skip that particular row. And this row is being used as a comment, like we are used to saying, like let's add comment in the program too, so that other person can understand that easily. So that's what, if you want, you can use hash. Okay, 3 dashes is used for multiple comments. In case if you want to comment multiple lines, then use this syntax, hash. All right. Oh, sorry, dashes, 3 dashes. Everything is an object. It's a very important point to understand, but you would get more detail. Everything is object means whenever we are writing Python programs, then object and classes are very important. So we are trying to say object is like, what does object do basically? It basically calls any class, and what does that class has? That class has if a set of functions. So by using that object, you are accessible to all those functions. I'll let you know about this in detail, guys. Don't worry. I'll make it so easy. You would really enjoy that. So just understand, everything is an object means, for example, hello world is there, right? And let me get you one user-friendly example. So hello world is there, and you want to write this in a small letters or caps letter. So what you can do, hello words, then use dot and then write lower. It would automatically print, or upper cases, or it would automatically print this complete statement into upper cases. That's the beauty about objects. Any questions on this? Fair enough. Okay, Python overview. So Python is an interpreted language. As I said, Python interpreter and compiler, these two things are basically helping all computer engineers to make their program compatible with machine learning, machine code. So what they do basically, they convert your program to machine code, and machine means in bytes, in 0 and 1. So that computer can start accordingly. Computer would start getting directions and would get you outcome accordingly. So interpreter translate just one statement of program at a time into machine code. Okay, what we are trying to say here is, for example, so we have this program. So what interpreter does, you cannot see interpreter because this is inbuilt in our Python. When you are installing Python, it would be installed automatically. What it does, it would read this line first and would convert that into 0 byte and would send that instruction to computer machine in machine language. Then it would read this line and would convert that. Then it would read this line, would convert that, this line. Then it would keep on reading these lines one by one, would keep on converting them, would keep on sending directions to operating system. And operating system would get you outcome based upon those directions. What does compiler do? Compiler completely scan this complete code in one go and would convert that into machine code and would send all that code in one go to operating system for performing action. So resulting in an interpreter takes very less time to analyze. So interpreter is quite faster than compiler to analyze the source code. Compiler scans the entire program and translate that whole into machine code at once in one go. All right. Okay, so here we have few more examples. Python doesn't use braces, as I said. In Java comparison, you must have observed we were using curly braces there, but in Python we do not need to use curly braces or semicolon. But it works on indentation. Indentation, as I said, it's kind of a defined structure you need to write, and that is something we will learn. Everything in the Python is object in Python. So as I said, hello world, if we are using dot, it would automatically show you inbuilt functions and would make your work easy. You don't need to write a code to convert them into lower or upper cases. You can use inbuilt functions by making this particular string as a object. You will learn about that a lot in future. But it's a beautiful feature. Easy code writing. So we can write code very easy. So here we are using tuple. It is basically encapsulating multiple variables. So animal is a variable, and all these are values, right? So we are supplying all these values to one variable, and we are printing them. So this is quite easy in our Python program. In similar way, we are showing one more program here where we are using list and of course for loop. You would learn all these things and in coming slides. Any questions here, team group?
Hello,
I
sir.
hope you guys are getting right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi, sir. Piyush here. Sir, man, is there any limitation?
Yeah. There are some certain limitations in Python. The most most famous limitation is Python doesn't work. Is not compatible for mobile apps. We have few more, but yeah, this one is quite famous.
Yeah.
We'll talk about them.
Yes, sure, sir.
Any other question from anyone?
Sir, basically, what is object? Sir, can you give a small definition on scale?
Okay. In order to understand object, you would need to understand classes basically. So, what a class? Class is. Let's take an example of fruit. Okay. So, if I'm calling you a fruit, so we have multiple types of fruit in the market. I'm giving you one very layman example. What's your name? Okay. So yeah, go ahead, please. Okay. So classes are nothing but whenever you are calling, for example, fruit is one of the class, and it has banana, it has apple, it has many other fruits. Now, so this fruit is a class. Now, if you want to eat, for example, only banana, right? Then you would be calling this fruit. You would be converting the fruit into an object. And that by using that object, you are accessible to all those inherited or added functions or all these features. Like I said, there are multiple types of fruits. Now you can access any of those fruits by using that objects. You will get more examples. We have altogether 2 to 3 days session only on classes and objects. It's quite important.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, great. So now we are talking about installation of Python. As I said, Python has multiple IDEs. IDEs are nothing but integrated development environments. These are kind of a, you can say, interface where you can write your code and then you can execute it. You can see your outcome there. And the famous IDE is PyCharm. You can install that. Komodo is also another one. I am a big fan of Visual Studio Code, so because it's a Microsoft free product. You can use any one of them. This Microsoft Studio Code is having many more features. If you want, you can use this. Otherwise, you can start your class or you can start your initial programming by using PyCharm. It's quite simple, and it would help you to write your code in a very simple way. All right. How should we install? So here we are giving certain steps that you need to follow while installing Python. You go here. Let me give you quick guidance. So in first step, what we are trying to say, to download and install Python, visit the official website of Python, this one, and choose your version. You can choose, we have chosen, when we installed, we used 6.3.6, but I think nowadays 6.3.9 is available. So go to this, go to downloads, and then, can you see my screen? Can you see the Python website?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So go to downloads, download this, and then it would come to your system and then install it. It would download .exe file, install it simply. It would automatically create path. Once that path is created, then go and so these two steps are there. Then go to PyCharm. PyCharm is IDE, and install that PyCharm in case if you go to community one. All right, and it would be again freeware to you. Both of them are open source. Go to community, download it, and then you can. We have given certain instructions here. You can configure that and start using Python. In similar line, in case if any one of you is interested to go for Komodo, Komodo is also being used widely. But my personal suggestion would be either you go with PyCharm. PyCharm is quite straightforward, or Visual Studio. Visual Studio is a bit complex, but it has many more features. Whenever you're going to advanced Python, then Visual Studio would make your life easy. Komodo is also quite famous. Okay, Komodo configuration steps are given here. You would have to install and then configure Komodo. All right. Okay, once you have PyCharm, Komodo, or Visual Studio added, then what you need to do, go to new, go to Python file, or go to a new file and save that file with the name of hello world or anything .py extension. Here we are giving the example of PyCharm. Okay, then we'll save that with the hello world.py and then run that code, go to run and run that. And then you can see program output at the bottom of the screen, hello world. We can execute same program from command prompt. I hope you all understand command prompt. This is nothing but the black screen of DOS operating system. You can, if you don't want to install PyCharm or anything, then you can simply install Python, this one, and then save your program in .py. Give the path of that file, and then run this with this command Python hello world.py and press enter. I think we missed to add here Python. So Python is also a keyword we need to add. Okay. I will do it later, guys. Anyways. Where is that? Okay, Python hello world.py and enter. It would execute your program and would show you the outcome. So this is first program kind of that you can check after installation of Python and IDE. All right, next session we will talk about data variables and all programming concepts would start. Team. So any questions so far? Any confusions? Any clarifications you want to take?
So this link would be available for iOS also, no?
Your voice is not clear. Can you please speak a little louder?
Sir, this link would be available for iOS also, no?
Oh yeah, for both.
Oh.
So once you are going on these websites, you can so it would show you Mac. Yep, this is for iOS. So you would have to see. Looking for Python bit different. Then go for Windows. Click on this one, Mac OS. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And then you can download. Same for this PyCharm. You can read this more. In order to get more information.
Hello.
Yep.
Yeah, this side Bushra. Actually, just wanted to know, like, is it possible for anyone to learn Python who has not learned any of the programming language in the past?
Oh yes, that's how. Considering this concept only, we have designed this course. So this is not at all mandatorily, even to have any background knowledge of any language. Even a fresher can also learn by going through our program. That's how we are starting from the very beginning.
Yes, the class has included basic topics. Thank you so much. It was a good class.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, group? Okay, there is one question from Agam. It can be used in front end and only back end. It can be used for front end as well. As we said, like this Python is compatible for website designing. We have a a altogether, we have many frameworks. We'll talk about frameworks, guys. It's a good question. It's a mature question. So frameworks, we have Django frameworks. We have many frameworks that we can use for designing websites. In similar way, if you want to write a program for Windows-based application, then there is one framework, Thinker. We can use that. Agam. Any other questions, guys? You can type your questions here if you want. Okay, silence says everything is good with everyone. All right, team. Thank you so much. We will connect tomorrow once again at 11 o'clock. So